Welcome to a special March Madness edition of the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Liam Hickey, joined alongside Liam Cohen, and guests for this episode, Colin Samito and Henry Juergens. And boys, March Madness is officially here. It's upon us. We're going to do a full bracket breakdown, give our picks for the entire tournament. We'll start with the South region, and we'll start with Colin. But boys, let's start. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited for this year. All these teams are super evenly matched. There's a lot of good matchup, 50-50 shots. I think it's just going to be some great basketball.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm stoked for this tournament. It's one of my favorite spectacles of the entire sport calendar year. It happens during school, which means I get to do no work at all. I'm sure you guys feel the same too. I just get to slack off in all my classes.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more excited. I mean, I'm already slacking off my classes. I think I've made like 16 brackets, One of them will be perfect, and I'll win $1 million, so I'm feeling really good about myself.
Yeah, I'm excited for the tournament this year. I love March Madness, love this time, so just excited to share my picks too.
All right, Colin, let's start with you then in the South region with Auburn taking on Alabama State.
Well, I think there's a pretty obvious choice here with Auburn coming in as the number 1 seed. They are just hot as all get out. They look great this year. And below that, we have Louisville versus Creighton. And this is just going to be a great game overall. Creighton has just been a great team. They played some really tough games, but so has Louisville. And Louisville coming out of the ACC playing Duke. And they did lose without Cooper Flagg, but I just think Louisville will be able to pull off this game and pull off that win.
I think Louisville were incredibly underseeded in this tournament. In the top 10 poll at the final end of the season, they were ranked number 10. All teams above them, 1 through 9, were ranked no lower than 3 in the bracket. And now Louisville somehow an 8 seed. It makes no sense to me. So I think Louisville's got that one for sure.
Yeah, and I think Chucky Hepburn is going to play like a total major role in this, as he was all ACC first team, and he's averaging about 16.4 points a game. So I think that's just going to be a great game from him. And in this Michigan-UC San Diego team, I'm taking the UC San Diego upset here. They are statistically one of the best teams in the country, and I just think Michigan is feeling a little down about this ranking after winning the Big Ten tournament. So I just think UC San Diego will be able to pull off this upset.
Yeah, I mean, I have that same upset pick because Michigan's a team that turns over the ball a lot. And when you turn over the ball a lot to a team that can really shoot, bad things happen. And it is a perfect matchup for UC San Diego, in my opinion.
I'd have to disagree with you guys there. I think Michigan overpowers this UC San Diego squad just because Michigan has 2 7-footers, Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf. I think that's the key to this game, and that's why Michigan's going to win.
I think while Michigan's definitely better in the post, UC San Diego is going to have the best guard on the entire court there with Ani Waniwa, Tate Jones. Pretty sure I got that right first try. I'm stoked about that. But yeah, he's this guy from New Zealand, and I think he could be one of the unheralded stars of this tournament because I think he's definitely more talented than the guys like Trey Donaldson or Namari Burnett for sure.
Yeah, totally. And going down another game, Texas A&M versus Yale, I'm once again taking the upset. I think Yale matches up super well with this Texas A&M team. They are coming in from the Ivy League. They are under James Jones at the moment. And I just think they're going to match up really well and be able to pull this one out.
James Jones is a super underrated coach in the Ivy League. Took down Auburn last year and beat Baylor in 2016. They got some dogs on that team too, like John Poulikitis and Bezin Bang, who actually leads D1 in triple doubles with 3 this season. I love that pick.
Yeah. And as you said, John is averaging 19.3 points a game, and Nick Townsend is averaging 15.4 points a game. So I just think they're going to match up really well with them, and they're going to be able to pull that one out. Moving down another game, after North Carolina winning their first 4-out game by a wide margin, I have them taking down Ole Miss in that matchup. I just think North Carolina is going to come in hot, and they're feeling disrespected with a lot of the athletic director stuff. A lot of the teams that didn't make the tournament this year, they're talking about how North Carolina's athletic director is the reason they're in this tournament. But I think they'll be able to pull this one out.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you there. I do think that it probably is partly because of Bubba Cunningham being the chairman for that committee. I think that is a major reason. But Auburn definitely did prove it last night. What a game that was. Beat him by like 27.
Yeah, that was a blowout from start to finish. I mean, early first half, I the game got pulled away by like 15 points and just kept going on and going on. I was watching at the gym, and by the end of the game, it was just wraps for UNC.
And these were two teams that have been in the national championship in the last 2 out of the last 3 years. So you would think it would be more competitive.
Exactly.
And San Diego State had Magoon Guath coming back, who was freshman of the year in the Mountain West, but it was no match at all for North Carolina. They look unstoppable right now.
Yeah, R.J. Davis, just a veteran player on that team. I believe fifth-year player, has a ton of experience in the tournament. So I think North Carolina could make a run.
And we're going to move down another game to Iowa State versus Lipscomb. I'm going to take Iowa State here. I think there is the chance of an upset here due to some injuries on this Iowa State roster. But overall, I just think Iowa State is just the more powerful team and has played better competition all year. So I think they'll be able to pull this one out.
Yeah, I agree there. It will be close, though. Keyshawn Gilbert was a major X factor for them, and without him, also, that was kind of a sneaky move by head coach TJ Osselberger. They're not announcing it until after they were seeded, because it's likely they probably would have gotten bumped down a few seeds if the committee had known that. That does play a big factor.
Yeah, although you said you can expect an upset, but you still take Iowa State, I actually do take Lipscomb in this situation. I mean, Keyshawn Gilbert's just such a big loss. And, I mean, when you look at Lipscomb, they have some good statistics, shooting 47.3 from field goal and a solid 35.9 from three. If they can convert on their shots, they can become a very dangerous team in the late game, especially with their foul or free throw percentages being 79.4, which is just 6th in the nation. They're a great shooting team, which could take them a long way.
Yeah, they can keep it close down the stretch, and
Yeah.
I mean that free throw percentage is going to come in clutch for sure. If they're going to be draining those, that could
100%.
be icing the game right there.
Exactly.
So we're going to go down to another game with Marquette versus New Mexico. And right here, I am going to take the New Mexico upset. The Marquette is just like not looked that great these past couple weeks, and I just think with the Mountain West Player of the Year, Donovan Dent, who's averaging 20 points a game, and Nelly Joseph, Junior Joseph, who's averaging 13 points a game, 11 rebounds, and 1 block. I think they're just going to spark this New Mexico team to this major win here.
This has got to be, for me, one of the hardest games to pick out of the entire bracket. Luckily, though, I think I have both teams losing to Michigan State in the next round no matter what. But, I mean, yeah, this could go either way. Shaka Smart, very veteran coach, but with the likes of Richard Pitino and Donovan Dent, it could go. I mean, I'm torn.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with you. This was probably my hardest game besides Louisville and Creighton. Marquette has a veteran player in Cam Jones, averaging 19.3 points per game. But New Mexico has that firepower with Donovan Dent and Richard Pitino coaching. So we'll see.
Donovan Dent is one of the only players in D1 to be averaging 20 points per game and 5 assists per game, too. So all around, really good, efficient score.
Yeah, and for the final game in the South region, we do have Michigan State versus Bryant, and I'm just going to take Michigan State here without a doubt. They've looked amazing all year. And when you have firepower like Cohen Carr on that team, I just think he's going to be so much fun to watch this tournament.
Yeah, set it and forget it for sure. This is definitely one of the most loaded rosters in terms of depth. Like, there's not really a single superstar on this team. Jace Richardson, you can make the argument, is probably their best player, but it's really close. I think 9 out of their 10 players are all averaging above 5 points per game, so it just shows how any scorer can get it done on any given day, even off the bench.
Yeah, and Jeremiah Fierce is the real leader on this team, and I think he's going to be able to bring them to a couple of nice wins here in this tournament. So going up to the round of 32, we are going to have Auburn taking on Louisville, and I'm going to take Auburn in this game. Although Louisville has looked great these last couple games, I just think Auburn is just the better team and has the more experience on their roster.
With a guy like Janai Broom, I mean, player of the year candidate for a long time running. It was between Hood and Cooper Flag. I'd say the race kind of dipped off at the end there with Flag going ahead. It was probably Broom actually in first place for a while there, but until Broom had those stretch of games, I think it was with Kentucky on March 1st and Texas A&M on March 2nd. He had 17 points combined and only 13 rebounds combined throughout both games. That was just kind of enough to put it over the edge for Flag.
Yeah, and he is averaging 18.6 points a game and 10 rebounds. So I just think he's just going to be absolutely dominant throughout this tournament.
For sure.
And for the next game, we have, in my bracket, UC San Diego versus Yale. Now, this is definitely not the matchup people were thinking of here, but picking 2 upsets right there, I'm going to take Yale again. I just think they're looking so great going into this tournament. They dominated this Ivy League this year, and I'm looking forward to see what they can do in this tournament.
Yeah, no, 12 and 13 seed. It doesn't happen often, but I can definitely see it between both of these. This is like upset city right here in that little quadrant.
Yeah, and then in my next game, I have North Carolina versus Iowa State, and right now I'm iffy between the two. As of right now, I have Iowa State, but due to this injury, I think I'm going to switch my pick to North Carolina just with the experience and with the injury. It's just going to be killer for this Iowa State team.
Yeah, it could definitely happen. I mean, 95 to 68. How telling is that, right? With the Tar Heels, they're looking insane. And it's going to be hard to stop them. Ole Miss, though, I mean, I wouldn't count them out. They got Sean Padula, a crafty white shooter, with Chris Beard as the head coach. Chris Beard's also really good. Used to coach Texas Tech and was actually Pitino's pick for the Indiana head coaching vacancy earlier on until Darian DeVries got it last night. So.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really toss-up game I don't know, with the Iowa State-UNC game. I think UNC might have the edge just with playing these big games as they're 16th in strength of schedule compared to Iowa State's 57th. So I think UNC could use that as they've been in games before like this. Just tough environment, tough place to play, and I think UNC could win, but I'm going to have to go with Iowa State.
Yeah, I mean, just like we saw last night, I mean, it wasn't the greatest of opponents in San Diego State, but like, it's still the stage was big. First March Madness, 11 seed game that we got to see, and UNC showed up. I mean, they had lots of doubters saying that they shouldn't even be in the tournament, but I mean, so far they're proving people wrong with a huge blowout win. They're looking hot so far.
Yeah, and moving on to that final game, we have Michigan State versus New Mexico. I don't even think we really got to touch on this game. Michigan State is just predominantly the better team, and they're way better coached.
And that sets up for you then in Auburn versus Michigan State, Elite Eight. So who you got there?
I'm going to take Auburn here to go move on to the Final Four, and I think they're going to be just blow out Michigan State this game. I just think they're the way better team.
You think it's a blowout?
I think it is a blowout.
Wow, okay. I mean, they got great defensive guys in Denver Jones and Miles Kelly. Denver Jones probably one of the better defensive guards in the entire nation, but Chad Baker-Mazara, if he can stay disciplined and not get stupid fouls that gets him out of the game early like he did against Alabama, I mean, I could see you being right there for sure. All right, then let's head to you now.
All right, yeah. So I start off my bracket the same way that Colin does, with a little bit of switch going into the second game, but obviously I'm going to take Auburn over Alabama State. I mean, it's kind of just a given. I don't think we're going to see a UMBC kind of game, especially from a team like Auburn. But the biggest change, or the next change at least, is I have Louisville beating Creighton in this first round game. I mean, Louisville's a team that really just kind of flipped their season around after firing Kenny Payne last season after a very disappointing season. And even though they're down Krishan Pryor, this team has really stepped up and, like you said, kind of disrespected in the rankings. They had star Chucky Hepburn really turned the season around from last year. He's now averaging 16.4 points per game. I just like Louisville in this game.
Pat Kelsey has done so much in his first season with the Cardinals, turned that program around like on its head, have a 19-win difference from last year, which is the largest in D1, and adding great recruits from Terrence Edwards from James Madison and Chucky Hepburn from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He's been doing such a great job coming over from college at Charleston. And yeah, it will be tough, I mean, for Auburn in that next round, I think.
Yeah, and I actually am going to follow alongside Colin with the Michigan upset to Cal, and I don't know. I'm just not big on Michigan. Like I said, they're a heavy turnover team, and when a team can knock down threes and some good field goal shots, I just think turnovers become too costly, and it could just even widen the margin for a lead here to build up in this game. Next, I'm going to take Texas A&M over Yale. Lots of people speculating a big upset coming on here. I just think I'm going to take Texas A&M. They're the more experienced team. They've had a harder schedule. Well, I mean, Ivy League obviously is not known for the hardest teams. Texas A&M, just they're experienced in these games. They're coming off a loss over Texas. That doesn't really do anything to me. I mean, they've beat some good teams like Auburn. They've held decent games with Florida, but I just don't think Yale really has it in them. And then moving on to my next game, I got Ole Miss actually beating UNC. A lot of people, kind of doubting Ole Miss, but Ole Miss is a team that has, played some really hard teams. They have the 5th ranked strength schedule all year. They actually just held a pretty tight game against Auburn in their last loss, but then you look at some other games like Florida, they were blown out by 19. They lost to teams like Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. But I just think Ole Miss, I think they'll have it in them. I think they could come out with a big win here. And then next, I am going to take a big upset coming up. Lipscomb over Iowa State. We talked about injuries, and honestly, I think Lipscomb can be a team to convert off these injuries. I mean, Keshawn Gilbert, that's like one of their biggest players over there on Iowa State, and losing him is losing a lot for that team. And, the only guy on the other side is Dylan Falker that's out, and I believe he just redshirted this year, so he shouldn't be too much of a threat.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State, they have lost some key games. They are on a little bit of a fraud watch right now. They lost to Auburn, and a lot of Big 12 matchups, too, during the season against Kansas, Arizona. They'll actually, and as well as Houston, which is, every team is losing to Houston. But, I mean, losing to Kansas is pretty problematic because Kansas is having a really down year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I just don't like Iowa State this year. I'm just not big on them. I had them going pretty far last year and kind of disappointed, but, it's whatever. Next, moving on, I'm going to take Marquette over New Mexico. I just kind of have a little favoritism towards Marquette. I've always been a little bit of a Marquette fan, so I'm taking them over New Mexico. And then obviously I'm taking Michigan State over Bryant. I didn't really look into Bryant whatsoever, like in the slightest. But now we're going to go to the next round. I do have another big upset coming up here. I have Louisville over Auburn. I think Louisville is my team that will, really make a push. I think they're the upset team to look out for as an 8 seed, a disrespected 8 seed as we talked about. And I just don't know if Auburn will, be ready for a hot Louisville team coming off a big win over Creighton.
Also, to think about it this way, it's basically going to be a home game for Louisville. Yeah. In both rounds, they're playing in Rupp Arena in Lexington. That's just a few miles away from Louisville, their hometown. And that's really unfair to Auburn, by the way, who's the #1 overall seed in the entire tournament. They got to go and play virtually an away game against a really good, underlooked Louisville team. And yeah, I can see with that home court advantage it playing a big role. And it's not crazy to say that Louisville could come away with the win that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of my big upsets. I believe I have lots of faith in that Louisville team. And, I would not be surprised in the slightest. This game, the next one I'm moving on to is the Texas A&M game. I'm a little iffy on Texas A&M, but because they do get to play a 12 seed, I think they will come out with a win. And then my next one, I got Ole Miss beating Lipscomb. Obviously, Lipscomb, I have a big upset over Iowa State, but I mean, I'm higher on Ole Miss than I am Iowa State. So Ole Miss kind of gets another free pass there. Then I have Michigan State beating Marquette. Michigan State's going far for me. I have lots of faith in this team. And then I have Louisville and Texas A&M in my 16, excuse me. And I take Texas A&M here. I mean, Louisville, again, has the home court, but Texas A&M, just a strong team, super hard schedule. They're meant for these games. Then I have Michigan State beating Ole Miss, and then Michigan State winning this bracket, or this side of the bracket against Texas A&M.
I actually have, I went the same route as you, picking Michigan State to come out on top in the South region. Starting with me, obviously, Alabama versus Alabama State. Set it and forget it there. Alabama State had that crazy Hail Mary play, though, yesterday night.
Yeah.
That was insane. But that's going to be where the buck stops for them. And then Louisville have beating Creighton. There is the Ryan Kalkbrenner factor for the Blue Jays. You never know. They're a really good defensive team, but I have Louisville just upsetting them. And I don't think it'll even really be that close. Not even really an upset then. And then give me Michigan over UC San Diego. Now, this one actually is kind of controversial because all the metrics are saying that UC San Diego could come out with the upset here because UC San Diego is one of the best teams on the turnover in the entire country. Meanwhile, Michigan turns over the ball the most in the entire Big Ten. But with guys like Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden, I see Dusty May getting it done in his first year and taking Michigan to decent heights in their glory. And then Texas A&M and Yale. Give me Yale here. I am not high on Texas A&M, unlike you, Liam.
Yeah.
They are not a very prolific scoring team. They got guys like Wade Taylor IV and Zurich Phelps. A very veteran team, but overall, they thrive more on mistakes made from the other team, and Yale just does not make many of those at all. They're very turnover efficient, and they just play their own game and hope that the other team just plays their own game too, and that's not what Texas A&M looks to do. So give me Yale there with the likes of John Poulikitis as well. I could see him being the star that comes out of this tournament. James Jones, like we mentioned earlier too, great coach. And then moving down on to Ole Miss versus North Carolina. I'm going to take North Carolina here. I really like UNC, how they're looking right now at the moment. RJ Davis is great. Then Allen Lubin and Jalen Withers looks like they're starting to get it together. They had some shaky, shambolic forward play earlier on in the season, especially against Duke, where they had that lane violation that cost them the game. So give me UNC there because they're starting to put it together. It looks like Iowa State, Lipscomb. This was actually pretty close for me. Like, for how the 3 and 14 seeds go, I mean, with Keyshawn Gilbert out, that's going to play a major role. But I'm going to take Iowa State to stick around for one more round before eventually losing to UNC. And then in the bottom, this is a really easy quadrant for Michigan State, in my opinion, because Bryant, they're going to breeze past. They're not a very offensively efficient team. They play a really fast tempo, but they don't really make a lot of shots, so they're just giving the ball in the hands of the possession to the Spartans a lot. And then Marquette and New Mexico, we talked about how this is going to be a really hard game to pick. But in the end, I'm going to go Marquette. I really like Cam Jones. I like him over Donovan Dent just a little bit. And Shaka Smart's a great coach. And then, but that's going to be where it stops for the Golden Eagles. Give me Michigan State to move on. I have UNC upsetting Iowa State there. They're going to move on. In the past 4 out of the 5 years, the first 4 team, at least one first 4 team, has made it past the second round every single time. So I think UNC is going to be my team there. And then moving on, give me, going back to the top of the bracket, I have Auburn beating Louisville in a very close game, in my opinion. I think this could be a game that could be definitely upset by the Cardinals, but I'm going to take Auburn and squeeze this one out for just by a little bit because of their veteran and defensive presence. And then Michigan versus Yale is going to set up for a really good game, but with the Twin Towers down low and Danny Wolf having it be his revenge game, I'm going to take Michigan. So give me the Wolverines and the Auburn Tigers in the Sweet 16, and then in the bottom I have North Carolina and Michigan State. I'm going to take Michigan State here, and then I'm going to take as well Auburn, setting up for another Auburn versus Michigan State Elite 8, and I'm going to pick Michigan State to come out on top, led by Jace Richardson and Jeremy Fears, the hometown native.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot with that bracket that I agree with. I mean, I'm happy you kind of, defended me a little bit in the Lipscomb game. I mean, obviously they're not going far, but Iowa State, you just can't trust them. Being down one of their main guys, just a team you can't trust going far.
I'm just not high on the Texas A&M pick for you, but besides that,
neither am I. This is.
All right, getting into my bracket, I had a similar Elite 8 game with Auburn playing Michigan State. I picked Auburn to win that, so I have Auburn going to the Final Four. But to look at the round of 64, I have Auburn winning pretty easily. I think that's self-explanatory. I have Louisville beating Creighton. I think Louisville, Terrence Edwards Jr., great player, averaging 16 points a game. He's a JMU transfer. I think they get it done. Michigan versus UC San Diego. Everyone's taken UC San Diego just because of their production on turnovers, but I think Michigan still has this game. Michigan's played a hard schedule all year, and I think just with that experience, they'll be able to win that game. Texas A&M versus Yale. Give me Texas A&M. I don't know. I don't think Yale has enough firepower to win this game, but we'll have to see.
Both teams are very physical too, so that'll be a very slugfest brawl.
Yeah, and then Ole Miss versus North Carolina. Give me North Carolina. RJ Davis, a veteran player on this roster. I think he carries them to that next round. Here we have Iowa State versus Lipscomb. I think Iowa State gets it done. I know you guys were saying Lipscomb could pull an upset, but I just think I don't know. Iowa State's just been decent all year, really good actually all year, and I think they get it done. Marquette versus New Mexico. I'm gonna go New Mexico here. I think Cam Jones is a great player, but I just like New Mexico. And then Michigan versus Bryant, self-explanatory. For my round of 32, I have Auburn versus Louisville. I think Auburn versus Louisville will be a really close game. Give me Auburn, though, to advance. Michigan versus Texas A&M. I think Danny Wolf gets it done in the round of 32 and moves on to the Sweet 16. North Carolina versus Iowa State. I think RJ Davis running college ends here. I think Iowa State will go on to win that game, but lose to Michigan State in the Sweet 16. And obviously my pick would be Michigan State then.
And look, he feels like R.J. Davis has been in college forever.
I mean, I saw an interview last night after their game where the coach was vouching for him to get another year of eligibility, and I was like, there's no way in the world. I think it was a joke. It had to have been a joke because there's no way that ever happened. I have Auburn versus Michigan. I think that'll be a close game. Two efficient teams in the paint, but I think Auburn has a better three-pointer. And then Iowa State versus Michigan State. I think it's Michigan State by a decent amount.
Great, and then that'll take us into the West region. Colin, give us your picks for that.
So pretty self-explanatory. We got Florida winning it. Right here, the UConn-Oklahoma game is one of the toughest games to pick for me. I love Jeremy Fierce a lot. I love his game. But I think with Dan Hurley's experience in these types of games, I'm going to take UConn here. And Memphis, Colorado State. I love Memphis. I love how gritty they are. I love how they play. Super aggressive on defense. Give me Memphis in this game. Maryland led by just so many different guys. We got a couple different guys up for lottery picks this year. I think they're going to it's going to be a tough game due to Grand Canyon. They're just a tough team overall, but I'm just going to take Maryland here.
Tyon Grant Foster is a dog, so you never know.
Yeah. And Missouri versus Drake. A lot of people are taking this Drake upset, but I do have a lot of faith in Missouri just due to the fact of their strength of schedule they played this year. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech, UNC Wilmington. I'm going to take Texas Tech. I don't think I really need to elaborate on this one. Kansas, Arkansas. Now, this is a big game. John Calipari really needs to win this one, probably to keep his job, due to the fact that he has weapons like DJ Wagner, and they have Tulsa Isevich, if I do recall.
Boogie Fland, just so many guys. Adu Thiero, a lot of transfers from Kentucky, as well as like freshmen. Yeah.
And then I have St. John's beating Omaha. St. John's is just the best coach team in the country, and I'm excited to see them play this tournament.
Check out that quadrant right there too. That's like three of the best coaches in the entire country, all about to play either in the round of 64 or in the round of 32. Prestigious right there.
Very. And I'm going to have Florida taking down UConn in that round of 32 matchup. And this game is super up for debate, the Memphis-Maryland game. Now, the Terrapins do have Julian Reese and Derek Queen averaging 15 and 13 points per game, as Derek Queen is going to be probably a high lottery pick this year. So I'm going to take Maryland in this game. Missouri, Texas Tech. Now, I love both of these teams, but once again, just Missouri has just looked better throughout this season. Although Texas Tech did get the higher seeding, I'm going to take Missouri here. Arkansas, St. John. I love St. John's. I just think they're super well coached, super disciplined, hustle really hard, and I just think they can sub guys in and out if they're not producing. So I think St. John's is going to win this game.
Definitely the people's favorite for this tournament, I'd say. Just such a likable squad, complete with obviously Rick Pitino at the helm. They could go far.
Yeah, and Florida versus Maryland, I'm going to take Maryland here. I think there's going to be a major upset from this Terrapins team, and I just think Florida is going to drop an easy one. It's definitely a game that's going to be tight throughout, but I think Maryland's going to pull it out here. And then going down to Missouri versus St. John's, I just think St. John's is overall the better team than Missouri, so they're going to win that. And I do have St. John's beating Maryland to advance to my Final Four.
Ooh, spicy right there.
All right, I'm going to say my West bracket now. I'm not even sure if this is my best bracket. This is the one I sent in for this, but I am going to take Florida, obviously. I mean, they're just a powerhouse of a squad. You know, they're going to get this job done. And for the next game, I like Dan Hurley and UConn. I mean, they're just experienced in these games. You know, past two, they have they're just always a solid team in March Madness. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they put up a good game against Florida in round two. But moving on to the next game, I have a little bit of an upset here coming from Colorado State. I have them beating Memphis in the round of 64. I just don't know. I'm big on Colorado State. I think they could get this job done. And the net rank, they're actually ranked higher than Memphis is. I think, you know, coming in hot to March Madness is one of the most important things. And they're on a 10-0 streak right now. I think Colorado State is a team that you can honestly watch out for in this tournament. And then My next game, Maryland and GCU. I'm going to take Maryland. GCU is always like a hard-fighting team, but I just think it's going to be Maryland this time. And Mizzou Drake, I've seen some speculations about taking Drake. I think Liam, you take Drake in this game, but I honestly just think Mizzou has been a solid team all year round, and I mean they've had a little bit of an iffy last couple 10 games, but I do think they'll be able to overcome this Drake squad. And then the next game I have Texas Tech. I just have Texas Tech winning. I mean, they're going far for me. I'm big on Texas Tech this year. Then we got Kansas, Arkansas. I'm going to take Kansas here. Kansas is a solid squad, in my opinion. I think they're just going to overcome this Arkansas squad. And then obviously I'm going to take St. John's over Omaha. And then next we're going to the Florida-UConn game. I'm going to take Florida. I have them winning this bracket, or this West Division. They're just a super talented squad. I think they're going to go very far. And moving on next, I do have Colorado State beating Maryland. Another big upset. Colorado State is a very well shot squad. I'm big on, if you could shoot, you could shoot, and it'll take you a long way. We see that all the time in high school basketball. We saw guys like Dante Montgomery. I mean, he could shoot, and they literally, without that kid, that game would have been pulled away by 30, 40 points.
Next, Collins with us. I might be a little dramatic.
Yeah, I know. My bad to this guy. But then I have Mizzou, Texas Tech. I'm going to take Texas Tech. I just don't think Mizzou has it in them. They had one of their better seasons in recent history, but I think it sadly comes to an end to Texas Tech. And then I have St. John's beating Kansas, obviously a fan favorite. St. John's, a great squad. I mean, they're going to get stuff done. Then I have Florida possibly blowing out Colorado State. I don't think Colorado State has a chance in this game. Then I have Texas Tech and St. John. I'm going to take Texas Tech. For me, this was kind of a hard choice, but I think my hardest choice was the next one between Florida and Texas Tech, and I do end up taking Florida. I think Texas Tech is a dark horse squad that you could see even pulling off this upset and making it to the Final Four, but I do take Florida.
Yeah, I'm going to take Florida, too, to finish off my West bracket. I think Florida and Duke currently have the highest odds for winning the entire thing, and for good reason. But starting at the beginning, give me Florida over Norfolk State. I got UConn, unfortunately, over Oklahoma, although I love to see Jeremiah Fears from Joliet West take down Dan Hurley in the two-time national champion UConn, but I don't think it's going to happen in the first round. Then give me Colorado State over Memphis. Here's the thing. I don't think that Memphis is going to be able to get it done without Tyrese Hunter. He is great from range, and he provides a lot to this team in terms of shooting efficiency. And I think he might be out for this game. And Nick Clifford on Colorado State might be one of the better small forwards in the entire country. So with that being said, give me Colorado State, the Mountain West champions of the conference tournament. I like Dane Dange as well, and I like PJ Haggerty, but I think that this has been a somewhat weaker AAC this year with the likes of Houston leaving 2 years ago and FAU losing a lot of players to the transfer portal. So yeah, give me Colorado State. And then give me Maryland over at GCU, the Crab Five. They are probably one of my dark horses to go a long way, actually. They looked really good throughout the regular season, and they were blowing teams out. They had one of the largest margins of victory throughout the entire D1 season. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, Liam, I actually am taking Drake over Missouri. I love Bennett Sturts, and I love their head coach, Ben McCollum. He came into this program. This is actually his first year, and he was still able to maintain that tradition of winning, as they now have won 3 straight Missouri Valley Conference titles. And I like Drake a lot over Missouri because they play a really, really, really slow tempo of basketball, and Missouri does not play well when the tempo is slowed down. They like to go fast. They like to go run and gun, and Drake is going to limit that, and I think it's going to play to their advantage. Give me Texas Tech over UNCW, no doubt about that. And then Kansas, Arkansas. I'm going to take Kansas here. I think Arkansas is just really young. I think it could go either way. I think it doesn't matter in the long run, though, because both teams are losing to St. John's. This team is really good. Coached by Rick Pitino. You got Kadari Richmond, high-end transfer from Providence, Zuby Ejiofor, and, of course, the player of the year in the Big East, R.J. Luis. Omaha, though, it would be cool if they won because they have that really sick tradition of banging the trash can and beating it up after every single win. So it's not going to happen, though. And then moving on quickly, Florida over UConn. They're going to take down Dan Hurley once and for all. And then Colorado State, Maryland. I'm going to take Maryland here. I think the Crab Five is going to be too much to handle for Nick Clifford. Give me Texas Tech over Drake. And then give me St. John's beating Kansas. That'll take us to the Sweet 16, where I'm going to go Florida over Maryland. I think the discrepancy between these two teams is going to be in the depth. Florida has one of the deepest benches in the entire Division I of basketball. With Alex Condon, you got guys like Denzel Aberdeen coming off the bench. and it's going to be not enough for Maryland because they really only have 5 guys. They have significant depth problems. I think each one of their starting 5 plays 25 minutes or more, closer to 30, and that's not going to be good when it comes to a war of attrition later on in the tournament. Texas Tech versus St. John's. I'm going to go Texas Tech here. I think they're much more dominant and dynamic than St. John's. And then finishing it off, give me Florida over Texas Tech.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Florida going to the Final Four and eventually the championship, but we'll get to that later. Just for my round of 64 in the West bracket, I have Florida winning in easy fashion. I have Oklahoma beating UConn. I don't think this is the same Dan Hurley squad we've seen the past 2 years, obviously, as they were back-to-back national champions. I just think UConn doesn't have the same fight that they've had the past 2 years, so that's why I'm going to take Oklahoma. Memphis versus Colorado State. I think this tournament is really about who's hot and when, and Colorado State is as hot as you can get in the past 10 games. So I'm taking Colorado State. Maryland versus Grand Canyon. I think Maryland wins that. Dare Queen, great player, potential lottery pick. I'm going to take Maryland. Missouri versus Drake. Drake's been in the tournament the past couple of years. They've had kind of the same success regular season-wise as they have had in past seasons, but they haven't done anything in the tournament, so I'm going to take Mark Mitchell and the Mizzou Tigers to win that game. Texas Tech versus UNC Wilmington. I'm going to take Texas Tech to win that, relatively easy. Kansas versus Arkansas. I like this Arkansas squad, but I'm going to take Kansas just because Hunter Dickinson, veteran player, AJ Storr, veteran player. You have these veteran players on the team, and it equivalents to winning. St. John's versus Omaha. Give me St. John's. Pretty self-explanatory. In the round of 32, I'm going to take Florida over Oklahoma. I think it could be a close game, but I just think Florida's such a good team. I have an upset here, and hear me out. I said when teams are hot, that's how you win games, and Colorado State is super hot right now, so give me Colorado State to beat Maryland.
I couldn't agree more.
Colorado State
I couldn't agree more. Colorado State's on a heater, and if they're getting the job done, they're getting the job done. I say make it 12 straight for them.
Yeah, and listen, Missouri, I mean, they've been a little inconsistent this year. They're still a 6th seed. Give me Mark Mitchell and the Tigers to beat Texas Tech. And then Kansas versus St. John's. Hot take. I'm taking Kansas. Just a veteran team. I think they get it done versus St. John's.
We're getting some weird looks from Colin over here. He's in disbelief.
I am. I don't like that at all. I just think St. John's is just the way better team, way better coached, and I just think Missouri isn't really experienced in this type of setting. I just think St. John's has been.
Hey, Mark Mitchell's a Duke transfer. Duke's always getting the tournament. All right? And then I have Florida beating Colorado State. The Cinderella story comes to an end. And then I have Missouri over Kansas. Give me Mark Mitchell. Love that guy. And then I'm going to take Florida to go to the Final Four, though.
All right, and so now we'll head up to the East region, and we've been getting lost in the sauce, I'd say, here. We've been going on for a long time, so let's just go a little rapid fire here.
Yeah.
Colin, just take us through real quick who you got in the East.
Well, let's just say I have all the higher seeds winning except for Vanderbilt taking that upset over St. Mary's. I do have BYU going on to the Elite Eight to play Duke, and I do have Duke winning my East side of the bracket.
Yeah, we have a lot of similarities in there. I mean, a lot of people speculating this McNeese team to start selling dog food and winning this game, but no, they're not going to win the game. I just think.
Shout out Orcon there, electric manager.
Oh shoot, I was in the wrong bracket. That's on me. But okay, a lot of similarities still. I have Duke winning this bracket. I don't really have that many upsets. Actually, I picked one upset. I have Vandy over St. Mary's. St. Mary's has not been a hot team as of recent, and I just think obviously, like me and Henry agreed on. I mean, the team that's winning is gonna keep winning. I have them beating Vanderbilt beating them, and then I have Bama and Duke ending up as my Elite Eight. And I take Bama over Duke. I think that's when Duke's story is going to end.
Wow.
Yeah, once again for me, this is probably the region that I had the least amount of upsets in. I had the higher seed in every single one in the first round, except for Vanderbilt. I do have BYU, VCU. I think that could also go either way, but I'm taking BYU. And then I'm going to take BYU again over Wisconsin in the next round. I have them going all the way to the Sweet 16, where they'll eventually lose to Alabama. And then I have Duke, Alabama in my Elite Eight, and I'm going to take Duke there. I think they have the most firepower out of any single team in this entire country. And they finished the season ranked number 1 in the AP poll, and I think that they will eventually go on to win the national championship as well. One other upset I did have was Oregon beating Arizona in the round of 32. I think Caleb Love is a little bit of a fraud, and I really like Jackson Shelstad, and I think Dana Altman is a really underrated head coach.
All right, well, it's time for mine, I guess. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Duke's going to go to the Final Four, and they're going to end up going to the national championship. But I mean, this Duke squad, everyone's kind of worried because it lacks veterans. Sorry. But I mean, you still have guys like Tyrese Proctor, Zion James, Malik Brown, those type of guys to help, lean on in their March Madness run. And then obviously just the skilled guys, Con Kneppel, Cooper Flagg, Isaiah Evans. I could keep going, but short and sweet, Duke's going.
It does seem like the entire association, though, is starting to shift to incorporating more veterans and transfers onto their squad because of the NIL and the transfer portal. I think Duke is one of the only remaining teams that's able to get really good freshmen and be able to compete with that, and they're competing at the highest level. But that is because they have literally the best freshmen in the entire country. But yeah, let's go on to the Midwest region now.
Sliding down into the Midwest region, I do have Houston going to the Elite Eight. But an interesting couple picks for me, I do have McNeese beating Clemson and High Point beating Purdue. I think Purdue has struggled in previous years, and I just think High Point is going to take advantage of that due to the higher stats and Braden Smith's a fraud. So
awful take.
I do also have McNeese is just the team. Everyone is hyping this McNeese team up, and I'm so excited to see them play. They're going to go to my Sweet 16 and sadly fall to Houston. Other than that, it's pretty good. The only other upset I have is Utah State. And I'm going to have Houston versus Tennessee in my Elite Eight matchup, and I'm going to have Tennessee taking down Houston in this game.
Yeah, actually not a lot of similarities between me and Colin here. I have Houston going to the Sweet 16 and losing to Clemson. I'll touch on that once I get there. I have Gonzaga beating Georgia, and I have Clemson beating McNeese. McNeese super hyped up school. Like I said, selling dog food. They get hyped before the games. I just don't think they have it. Purdue has the 4th hardest schedule of anyone in college basketball, and we go to. This is the High Point Purdue game. When we get to High Point schedule, compare it to Purdue. Why am I saying Duke? Purdue. Purdue has the 4th hardest schedule, and High Point has the 209th hardest schedule of all these teams. So I just think Purdue, they played better competition. They're going to get this job done. I have Illinois beating whoever plays today. And I have them beating Kentucky in the next round. I have UCLA actually beating Utah State. Tennessee is going to win the Wofford game, and I have Tennessee going all the way to the Elite Eight against Clemson and beating them and ending up in my Final Four.
And then my bracket for this one's pretty cut and dry. I have Clemson beating McNeese. I think Will Wade is not going to get his get back. He actually started his career as a student manager for Clemson before going into McNeese and his coaching endeavors. But I think Clemson's going to get it done even without Dylan Hunter. And then I got Purdue beating High Point. This one was possibly an upset watch for me too, but give me Purdue. Braden Smith was just named an AP All-American. And then only big upset that I have really is Texas actually beating Illinois. I'm calling it right now. I think Texas is going to beat Xavier tonight. And then I also think they're going to beat Illinois. Illinois has been a very volatile team all year. They lost in one of their worst losses in program history at a neutral site in Madison Square Garden about a month ago to Duke. And once again, at a neutral site here today, in a few weeks rather, I think that they're going to lose to Texas. And so then give me, I have Tennessee, Kentucky in my Sweet 16, along with Houston versus Clemson after Clemson beats Purdue, and a little bit of an upset there. And then I have Houston beating Clemson. Clemson could be a Final Four team, but I think Houston's going to be too much to handle. What's different from this year compared to past years for Houston is that they actually have shooters on this team with guys like Milos Uzan, Jawan Roberts, Emmanuel Sharp, and LJ Cryer. In past years, it was just that they're a really rigid defensive team, but this year they're also really efficient shooting the ball as well. And I think that'll propel them to the Final Four where they will beat Tennessee.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on a lot of those takes. The one that I think shout out John Isaacson. I'm taking High Point over Purdue. But High Point plays Clemson later on. I have Clemson going pretty far in this tournament, so I'm going to take Clemson there. I'm going to take Clemson beating Houston. Clemson had a really good season. They beat the #1 AP ranked team, Duke, at one point, and then kind of got gypped in the ACC tournament semifinals to go have that rematch with Duke. So I think Clemson has a chance to go far here. Illinois has been inconsistent, but they're a really talented team. 2 potentially lottery picks, and then obviously freshman Morris Johnson was injured for that Duke game, so we'll see what he can do.
You think he would have scored like 40 points?
Yeah.
Yeah, helped him out? Okay.
Yeah, definitely would have changed it.
Well, I think he would have changed the outcome of the game just because they didn't have a big man.
True.
There was no big man for Illinois in that game, but I do have Illinois falling to Kentucky, and then Kentucky falling to Tennessee. And in my Elite 8 matchup, I have Clemson versus Tennessee. I'm taking Clemson to go to the Final Four.
Got 2 Clemson picks there.
Yeah.
Well, you have Tennessee, actually. Never mind.
Well, I have Tennessee beating Clemson.
Okay.
I do have Clemson going pretty far. But now we're all going to move on to our Final Four matchups. Colin, what do you got for us?
So on the left side of the bracket, I have Auburn versus St. John's, and right here I'm going to take St. John's to get that upset. I just think, although they are not the traditional national championship team you see, they do remind me of Pitino's teams from 2012, 2013. Super gritty on defense. I just think they're just going to be the better team in this game. And Duke versus Tennessee, I'm going to take Duke. I think it's just going to be a blowout. I think Coop and them are going to have a great game there. And in my national championship, I got St. John's versus Duke. And I have this as a super, super close game. But right here, I'm going to take Duke to win the national championship.
All right, our Final Fours look nothing alike. So my left side of it is Michigan State and Florida. I do have Florida winning this game to advance the national championship. Then I have Bama and Tennessee. I have Bama beating Tennessee in this game. A little controversial bracket here, but come back when it's perfect. And then I have Florida beating Bama in the national championship. So I just think Florida has the dogs to do that.
I mean, they did it once in the SEC semifinals. They'll do it again, you think. I like that. If it comes down to Florida, Alabama, give me Florida all day for sure. And then in mine, I have Michigan State versus Florida on the left side. I have Florida winning that one, led by Walter Clayton Jr., Alex Condon, Elijah Martin, Will Richard. Take your pick at this point. Yeah, there's so much depth, actually on both sides too, though. But I think the Stars outshine Michigan State in that one and give me the Gators to advance to the final, where they will take on Duke after beating a really good Houston team this year. A really good coaching matchup. You got Kelvin Sampson versus John Shire, but I'm going to take the Glenbrook North native. And setting up for Florida versus Duke. I think this is going to be one of the better finals we've seen in college basketball history. These are 2 historically good 1-seed programs, but give me Duke with 3 lottery picks, maybe even 4 in their starting 5. It's going to be too much to handle for the Gators.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on those picks. I think Duke will kind of wipe the floor with these Final Four teams as I have Duke beating Clemson and then Florida beating Auburn. I think it'll be a close game, but I just think Florida has had success this season with Auburn, so I think Florida will win that game. And then Duke versus Florida, I think Duke wins this. I think it'll be a close game, but I don't see a world where Duke loses, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then you have Duke-Clemson on the right side there. Clemson actually did beat Duke earlier in the regular season, so I could see Duke definitely getting their get-back, though. Cooper Flagg, he'll be back. Hopefully, John Shire hopes for the first round coming up.
Yeah, speaking on Liam Cohen's Alabama pick, Grant Nelson he's questionable for these March Madness games. I just don't know if Alabama's going to go that far without one of their star talents.
He'll be there. Don't worry. Don't worry. I was talking to him. He'll be there.
Yeah, that's huge. But that will conclude our March Madness preview. Coming up, we have March Madness literally in the next few days, so we are very excited for that. No work will get done between the 4 of us, which is why I wanted to get the show done now. So thank you for watching. Thank you guys for coming on, Colin and Henry. It's been electric having you guys on in the studio. And so long for the Bulldog Blitz. Until next time.
Bang.